Hello and welcome to Freedom Revamped. If it is your very first time here, Freedom Revamped is a platform dedicated to helping others discover freedom and purpose. Today we are talking with Jalia Wallace, the author of I Didn't Plan for This, But God Did. Jalia is the youngest in a family of five. She has two older sisters, Jasmine and Jonay. She has two nephews, one niece, and one godson. She was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but currently resides in Lindenwold, New Jersey. She is an active member at Change Church, where she serves under the amazingly strong leadership of Dr. Darius Daniels and Lady Shamika Daniels. Jalia earned an associate's degree in business administration in 2016. She is currently pursuing her bachelor's degree in fashion merchandising management with a concentration in buying at Philadelphia University, where she also studied abroad in China. Jalia currently works as a direct support professional where she cares for individuals of all ages with developmental disabilities. She has a strong passion for helping others and looks forward to furthering her career in ways that enable her to be of even greater service to her community. Jalia can be described as resilient, creative, strategic, adventurous, and charismatic. Her mission is to help people of all ages, especially youth and young adults, to be saved and to experience their true identity in Christ. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring Jalia onto the screen. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
All right, guys. So today we're actually going to talk to Julia about her book, I Didn't Plan for This, But God Did. Before we get into it, you guys know I always start off asking people about freedom. So, Julia, the first question I have for you is how do you define freedom?
I would say freedom, honestly, is not really having boundaries when it comes to being who you are. So really just being
Okay.
your true self.
I agree. I feel like that's honestly the reason why I started to discover what freedom is because I was trying to please everybody without even knowing who I was. So I would
Fun.
definitely agree with that. Yes. Now,
So
with oh, you can go
I
on.
was gonna say I always tell myself like you have to stay true to who you are. Because if you don't, like you'll allow other people's opinions and just different things just kind of get you to a place where like you feel held captive, I guess. So
Yeah.
I just think it's important. You have to stay true to who you are at all times.
I 100% agree. Now, with freedom, I feel like it's something that if you've been in bondage for so long, it's something you have to practice to actually accomplish. So for me, I feel like in different seasons of my life, I have practiced freedom differently. So in one season of my life, I might have practiced freedom by trying to forgive myself more often. In other seasons, it might have been trying to study the Bible more. So in this season, how do you currently practice freedom?
So honestly, I guess right now, I'm trying to, like you said, kind of forgive myself for certain I guess like behaviors I've done and still might currently find myself coming back to from time to time. So I think it's just all about really like kind of putting a mirror up to your face and kind of just looking at mirror in the face and just saying like, yes, this is what I did, this is what I've done, but I can be better, and I can be free. Like I don't have to, be in bondage.
I agree. Now, guys, today, like I told you, we're talking to Julia about her book. So I want to ask you, what was the journey like with writing I Didn't Plan for This, But God Did?
Okay, so first I want to talk on like a more, I guess, spiritual type of aspect of the journey. So that part I'm gonna say was more of like a healing process. And the reason why I say that is because there were some things that I dug up. And I mean you read the book, so you probably can attest to this. But there were some things that I kind of dug up from past experiences that I've had. Weren't the best experiences, some of them were very ugly. So as I was writing the book, it was kind of like I was actually just healing, you know what I mean? Like, because some of the things, honestly, I kind of placed them way far back. Like I tried to forget about them. Like, I didn't really want to talk about them. So as far as physically writing the book and coming up with these things that I've been through and went through, and it was just kind of like, wow, like, I just had like a mirror up to my past. So that was that part of it. And then the other part of it, I want to say, it required a lot of sacrificing, because I personally, like, I didn't believe I had all the tools, that you feel you would really need to write a book. Number one, the money aspect of it, it definitely was something that I had to sacrifice. Like, I had to not shop. I had to, sacrifice not going out and spending money, like, because it was kind of like a rent payment, you know what I mean? Like, in order to get this book, out and what I wanted it to be. So that was definitely a sacrifice. Number two, it was like, I never written a book before. So I said, am I even capable? Like, am I even equipped to write a book? Like, can people just wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to write a book? That was number two. That was kind of, stressful. I started, researching a bunch of websites, like, first authors, how do you write a book? I was just, because like I said, I never did it before. So that was kind of like I realized as I was writing it and as I was like looking those types of things up, is like, there's really no specific criteria. You know what I mean? Like, you literally can, like, I can set my own tone, which I kind of love, because I like to be different and I wanted to bring a different type of category as an author. So that was something I kind of, struggled with in the beginning, because I was comparing myself, I was looking at other books and I'm like, well, what if I'm not as good as this one? And then the last thing I would say, my computer broke, like, literally maybe a month or two into me writing. So that was kind of discouraging at first, because I'm like, okay, how am I going to write a book? I don't even have a computer. But I actually made it work. And I obviously got through it. But I just say all that to say, you can do it, no matter what. I mean, it was a hard journey. It was long and it got discouraging at times, but all in all, I came up with my book.
Yes, and I actually absolutely love your book. Like, you and I, this is our first time talking, but through reading the book, I honestly felt like I knew you in a way.
I love
And I
it.
think, yes, I love that about authors who are just starting out. Like, it seems like you're literally talking to that one reader. It's not like you're writing to an entire audience, and it makes it much easier to grasp what you're putting into the book. So, yes. Now, one thing I heard you say, and it sort of already answered this question, but I'll just ask it just to clarify. A lot of people from a very young age are like, I want to be an author when I grow up. So, did you ever expect to be an author? Like, was that something you thought of way before starting this book, or was it just like the vision came and you had to execute?
So it's kind of crazy because, like, personally, so when I was younger, like, literally, I'd love to read, like, anything I could get my hands on. I would, like, read. I was reading, like, literally chapter books from, like, age like 5. So I love to read. And also, I love to write. And I always got, like, compliments from my teachers, like, when I would write, essays or whatever the case may be. But I never really looked at it as, like, something that I really wanted to do. You know what I mean? I never, like, said, oh, I want to be an author. I really never, that literally never was in my plans. And to be honest, I'm a type of person that I'm like, I have a lot of things that I do, want to do and I have aspirations for, but being an author, honestly, it wasn't one of them. It kind of just came about. Like, I didn't even really know that I was actually writing a book. One day I just kind of went, and I told this story a lot of times, but I went to Barnes and Nobles, and I had my laptop and I just started, like, writing, but I didn't know it was going to be a book. I just thought I was just writing down, like, some thoughts. So no, I had no idea.
Well, I'm glad that you went to Barnes and Nobles and started writing, because I'm telling you guys, it's really an amazing book. Like, I would actually not be interviewing her if I didn't enjoy it. But the whole purpose of the book is literally talking about things you didn't expect to happen or things you didn't plan for, but it was already in God's will, therefore it had to happen. So I want to ask you, what has been the best thing to happen to you that you didn't plan for, and how did this certain thing change you?
This is gonna sound crazy, but honestly, so I think it was I think the best thing that probably happened within, I guess, the past, couple of years. I actually couldn't go. I had to get put out of school. I was like actually in school, going for fashion merchandising management, and I was kind of taken out of school because of like financial reasons, and like that was like really really stressful. But then like during that break, which is crazy because I wrote this book during my break of school. So when I was out of school, it kind of just got me to thinking about a lot of things. Because hence the title of the book, I didn't plan for this. I really didn't plan to not be going to school. I felt like I had it all set up, I'm gonna graduate at this time. I'm gonna try to move to like California or New York. I'm gonna get a job. Like, so I kind of thought I had it all like set up, and I just thought my life was just gonna kind of go in that exact path that I felt it was going. And then once that happened, it just kind of brought a whole different light, because I knew that a lot of the things that I was saying I wanted to do, it was always like, oh, I'm going to do this when I'm finished school. I'm going to do this when I finish school. I'm going to do this. But then once I got out of school, I was like, there's a lot of things I could be doing now. You know what I mean? I don't have to wait until I get a degree. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? I'm still going to pursue my degree, but I got a lot of things done, from being out of school and just realizing that I don't need a degree to actually define who I am and to actually define where my next steps are going to take me.
That's good. I actually took a year off before I started college, and initially I was like, I'm not even gonna go to college. So I didn't expect to go at all, but now I'm in college. But I think that's something a lot of people don't talk about, especially in the Black community, is like college, dropping out of college, starting back after you drop out. So I'm glad you highlighted that because I feel like that creates a space for more people to start talking about that in their journeys.
Yes.
So, one of my favorite chapters, and actually, what I do when I get books is I look at the chapter titles first before I dive in. So, one of my favorite titles and the content of the chapters was Come Back to Christ. And that's chapter 12. So, I want you to tell us a little bit about your journey as a Christian and how you sort of lost your relationship with God. And then, well, we'll talk about returning to Him later, but tell us a little bit about the journey when you sort of lost that relationship.
So just a little so I got saved when I was 12. And I mean that's young, but like no, like I really, 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 really I knew God, like I loved God, like I knew like I was like on fire for God, honestly. So I got saved when I was really young. And I pretty much grew up in church. Well, I grew up in church obviously before I even kind of got saved and knew Him. But at first, in the beginning you're young, so you're kind of like, oh, this is what we're supposed to do every Sunday. And then as I, got older, a little bit older, I started knowing Him for myself and I got saved. And then, I don't know, like as years went on, it was kind of like, I don't know, I started growing apart from the church that I was at. It was kind of like more routine based, as opposed to like growth. So I felt like I wasn't really growing and I felt very stagnant. So I started kind of, hanging around people, who, didn't really have the same values as me as far as, God and the church world and stuff like that. So then I really started rebelling a lot. Not saying it's because of them, but I mean, sometimes bad company does corrupt good character. And I had to learn that the hard way, but I started to, just kind of fall away from Him. And I started just doing things that I, never would do. So that kind of led me to a place where, I was just all over the place. I wasn't going to church at all at that point. I wasn't, really praying, talking to someone, reading my Bible. Like I wasn't really doing any of those things. So it was just kind of like one of those things where I was just like very, very, very far away. Even though God's not far away, but I was very far away from Him at that point. But yeah, that's kind of like the way I got away.
I feel like that's what happens to a lot of us Christians who grew up in church. It's like you start to disconnect from not necessarily from God. It sort of starts internally with where you're going to church. And it's not to say that, the church you're at isn't providing the word. It's just might not be in a way that you need to hear it. And that sort of happened to me as well. That's why I really just like a lot of people are like, you still need to go to church for community, but um I sort of like online pastors such as Sarah and Michael Todd because they really like, yes, they really can speak to me. And some of their sermons are like a little bit further from me, but the ones that I really can connect with are like, whoa, see, you didn't have to tell my business like
Okay.
that.
I say that all the time. Like, and I think that's good that you brought that up because so don't get me wrong, I have a lot of like not family, but like family as in like we grew up together type of family at my old church. But like I said, I just started to get like stagnant and I felt like I was just going because this is what I'm supposed to do. And then that church was more, that was a, traditional type of church. It was a Pentecostal church. And then I ended up, I don't know if you know him, but his name is Darius Daniels. I ended up going to his church. And honestly, like the first time I went, like I just knew like this was me. Like this was like the type of environment that I need to be in. And like just the whole like journey in itself. It's called Change Church, but it's because he really he's very adamant on like making change like in the world, not just being in church on Sundays, but he's very adamant of like making change every day kind of thing. And like that's what I really realized that I needed, like I needed something that is going to help me grow every day based, as opposed to just coming to church on Sunday, getting the word and then kind of thing. So
I agree. And even when we sort of like, I don't want to say, well, for me, it was like pulling back because I was being very stagnant. And I was like, clearly, like right now, this isn't the word that I need to nourish me. Sometimes the church community can be like, that's the time you need to be coming more. But it's like, if it's not nourishing me, then I need to figure out how my relationship with God, how I can grow that relationship. Because everyone's relationship with Him is different.
mm-hmm.
So I do want to ask you, what was the process like of returning to God and returning to your relationship with Him?
So, okay, so during the time where I was like not like out, so I was going to church. It was a period where I wasn't going at all. But then it came a period where I was going, but I was like visiting churches. You know what I mean? Like I was visiting with like, friends and stuff like that. But nothing really like, I don't know. It was just still kind of like the same, like, But then I remember once I got to Change Church, it was something like very, very different. And honestly, Change Church is really what made me like, it was like a light bulb that went off. I was just like, yo, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this stuff? Like, why am I like, because I remember who I used to be, I remember like being on fire for God. Like, I just remember, I started remembering everything. And I'm like, this is what I need. Like, I know, like, I need God, And then I remember just like one night, I just literally like broke down. I repented, I was crying. I had my hands up and like, it was just like a whole like thing where it was like I need God in my life, like, So, and then also too, it was like I went through like a period where I talk about this in my book too, but I went through a period where like I was like very depressed and I was like having suicidal thoughts and just stuff like that. And it's like sometimes you don't realize how much you need God until you actually need God. And at that point, I was just like, listen, like I don't know what I was doing, but I cannot live this life like without Him. So it was just kind of like an eye opener for me. Just the fact that He like saved my life.
Yeah, for sure. For me, when I started back focusing at first, like when I was like, okay, I need to return the prodigal daughter, I was like, almost afraid in a sense that He wouldn't forgive me. And even though in the word it literally says He forgives, but to me it was like He can forgive me. So I think that's what my process was like in the beginning, and eventually I had to start finding what was best for me and our relationship, which brings me to the next question. A lot of times we focus on church, on religion more so than relationships. So the rules of the church, are you non-denominational? What denomination are you? So was there ever a point where you felt like you were more focused on following religion than you were your relationship with Christ?
So that's how I grew up, honestly. Like, it was just, I don't know, like, it was just, I feel like every Sunday I just got rules thrown into my face. Like, you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to do this, you have to do that. So that's kind of how I was like brought up, I feel like. So it was kind of conditioned like in my mind.
Yeah.
And I got to that other church, it was just kind of like, it was like, wait, hold on, this is a lot. But then as I got to like really understand and really I got it, it's like, oh, so I feel like I was more focused on religion or relationship. And now it's like, I was able to build my relationship with God, because I always would be like when I was younger, it was funny because I would always feel like he didn't love me no more, or I wasn't saved anymore. Like, I got saved like so many times because I thought like once I did one bad thing, it was like he was just over me at that point. So I was like, I always just felt like my relationship wasn't there, and now, I know that when I do, backslide, or if I do, go through something or struggle, like I know that he's still there, and I know that I still have that relationship. So now I can really say that I really focus more on my relationship with him, as opposed to like just religion in general.
I agree. And I didn't even think about that. We are, a lot of us that go to black churches, we are conditioned to focus on religion. You can't wear this to church. You can't do this. And
All that stuff.
I don't know why it is. I think it just goes all the way back in time. But definitely I didn't realize that I needed to focus more on relationship until like 17. And that's not to say that it started being perfect then, because you have to unlearn all that you learned first before
Um,
you can.
I like that.
Yes, you have to unlearn it. And so I'm still working on it, because there are still some times where I'm thinking like you used to think, where it's like, okay, I gotta get saved all over again. When you're already saved, you just have to repent for it. And really, he forgives us when we don't even ask for it.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things I love about like God.
Comes to like that part of it, like I like to ask a lot of questions. Like, I'm the type of person, you can't just say something. I want to know why. I want to know, like, so when I was younger in church, like I would ask so many questions, but like I felt like the answer that I was getting, it wasn't really clear, like, but I
Mhm.
feel like, everything gets broken down, like, like everything is broken down, so like I can really kind of get it, I can understand, I can go to my Bible and read it, and I'll be like, oh, okay, now I get it. But growing up, it wasn't really as clear, so I think that's what caused maybe like some confusion with what like relationship and religion.
Yeah. I think I don't want to say I fact check everything, but if it's like something that I'm like, okay, God, let me go back and read the Bible after this. And
Mm-hmm.
then this is a whole nother topic, but some things that might be convictions for other people might not be convictions for us. So like I said, a whole nother topic.
Yes.
It's just
And
it's a
I just, the Bible itself is, like
it's
you
a
said,
lot that we
this is another topic, but the Bible itself is a lot, like, because one thing I had to learn too is like, you know how people love to like kind of put scriptures out there, but you got to think
Mhm.
about reading the entire thing. So it's like you can
Yeah.
say chapter 17, but there's also chapter 15, 16, 18, and 19. So that's something that I had to, really be like, okay, I need to really get into my Bible, like, to really know what they're talking about, instead of for just looking at quotes and, different scriptures here and there. So,
I agree, because I mean, every time I think about that, I think about the Tyler Perry scene where Medea's like, "Suffer the children," and she
mhm.
doesn't finish it; she just leaves it there. So you definitely have to look at the Bible as a whole, not just that little scripture. And even then, some of the stuff that's in the Bible, it might not apply to these days. They were living completely differently. That's why you have to literally have your relationship with God.
So
I just cannot.
very, very good point, because people will always say, just like when you think about it, like in Leviticus, where they're like all the laws and stuff, and they have like all the animals are sacrificing and all that. We're not doing that right now. You know what I mean? But it's like people will look at certain things and certain uh Bible verses, and they'll say, "Oh, well, they did this in the Bible, so we're supposed to do this." And it's like, no, like everything that they did, this is back then. And then you have the Old Testament and the New Testament. So you got to also think about that too. All old things, are passed away. And it's like people, sometimes they won't understand that. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes in at.
For sure. So my next question is, two of the topics I noticed that you mentioned were letting go and embracing reality. So can you shed light on these two topics and why you decided to cover them in the book?
Yes. Okay. So first, letting go. Letting go. This is probably the hardest thing for me to do. Like I hate letting go. Like, to be honest, um, people, things, situations, like whatever it is, I just don't like to let go. So as far as with people, I just realized like letting go is just, it can really be a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't always have to be like a stressful thing. Like, literally letting go is a part of healing, like, a part of trying to get better or like move forward. So there was a person that I had to physically let go like last year, and it was very hard. It was stressful. And once I started coming to that realization, like, letting go can be like beautiful. Like, just cutting ties in general can be great. So I just think like you really have to understand where you are in a season, and you have to understand that there are some things that can go with you, and then there are some things that have to actually stay behind. And you'll realize as you go on, you might have to do that a few times, and it's okay, but it does actually help you grow. So I had to speak on letting go in my book, because like I said, that was something that I struggled with for a very long time. But now I've, gotten better with it. And then also embracing reality. You have to embrace, what you're going through or what you went through. Like, if you deny things, or if you, kind of just push them to the back burner, you're never gonna heal and you're never gonna grow. So like I said in my book, there are some things that I talked about that I went through, or I've dealt with, like depression. Like, I never thought I would write about me going through depression in a book. You know what I mean? But I had to do it, because I said this was the reality, at some point. And the fact that I did do it, and I was like actually transparent, I'm actually being able to, heal other people. And now other people are coming to me and they're like, oh, well, I went through this too. So I just think when it comes to letting go and embracing reality, you just have to get to a place where you have to know who you are, number one, because if you don't know who you are, you don't know what's not for you. So you have to know who you are. And then you also have to be able to look back at where you were and realize that you're not there anymore, and you can keep going.
I agree. I think all of us struggle with both of these at least one point in our lives, especially the letting go part. Even if it's like letting go of toxic relationships, toxic friendships, letting go of maybe something we did in the past to the point that we don't forgive ourselves. And then the embracing reality part can also go with like not forgiving ourselves. We don't want to accept the fact that we made a mistake. So we just kind of push it to the back. And then when you push things to the back, it is going to show up again if you don't fix it and work on it and heal from it. And that's something I learned the hard way, because I just used to be like, it's not there. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then it kept sneaking back
Yep.
in different friendships. Yes, it was like, I'm still here.
And
So,
kind of point out was, there's not like, yeah, the thing that I will always do, I will always say, oh, I'm gonna let this person go, but not right now, or I'm gonna let this situation go, but not right now. There's never a right time to let something go, because you're just not gonna want to do it. You know what I mean? So you gotta
Mm-hmm.
stop lying to yourself, saying like, saying that, because there's not going to be a right time. You really just have to get up and kind of do it. Like it does take strength. Like it takes a lot of strength, like courage and willpower, I guess. But it's definitely, like I said, it's something that is necessary, and it helps.
Yeah. Yeah, especially I think it's especially hard with relationships in general, with family members, friends, anyone. It's hard because you feel like you almost need that person because they're such a vital part of your life at that moment. But is it helping you grow? Is it helping you heal? Or is it holding you back? So I think that's something we all should consider, like when it feels like we need to let someone go, but we don't want to.
Mm-hmm. And I think so in my book I put my relationships chapter, I put like relationships can be like taking a test. So I said I use it as like when you go to take a test, like there's times where like you'll go into it thinking like, oh, this is easy. Like, like I know I aced this, but then you'll get an F and you're like, I had no. But then there's times where you'll go into it and be like, oh my goodness, I don't think I can do this. And you'll think, oh, I'm going to get like an F, and you end up getting an A. So it's like sometimes you can misjudge people, or you can like misread people, and you might think that they're a certain way, but in reality, they're not the way you expected. And that can be another like way that it's like, that's another, I guess you could say like why it's like disappointing, or like you don't really want to let it go, because you're like, well, I didn't expect this from that person. So, you know what I mean? And you want them to be that you want them to be, but in reality, it's not, really the case. So you just have to kind of, for who they are.
Yeah, that's why one thing I'm currently working on is not to expect anything from anyone, because then I'm ultimately disappointing myself, and it's not fair to them for me to set expectations for them. So
I like
I learned it the hard way, and that actually
it's like, it's crazy because one thing I struggled with, and I still am struggling with, I'm trying to figure out like when, like, because you're supposed to give grace, as women of God, people of God, we're supposed to give grace. But it's like, where is that line at? Where like you give some grace and you like just tell somebody, listen, like that's it. So my pastor made a good like kind of a good point to that one time. Like he said, you don't give up on people, but you give people up, meaning you give people up to God and you let him handle them. And then you kind of stay away, because there's only so much you can do, when it comes to like a person. So I think that was like really good. And that's what made me kind of like learn how to like really kind of let people go.
Yeah. And it's not to say that you don't forgive them. It's just, it's what's best for you. So you can forgive someone, but still have to be like, okay, we can no longer have this friendship or relationship in the way that we've had it before.
Right.
You have to distance yourselves from them, for sure.
Right.
So next question is, what are some takeaways you hope people get from this book and your journey?
That's a good question. So definitely the number one thing that I want them to get, which is why I wrote this book, is even though you didn't plan for a lot of these things, God, he already had all your numbers, your steps, everything ordered for you. And he knows exactly what you're going to go through, what you're going to experience. So you really don't have to worry about any surprises. Like you might be surprised, but God isn't. So definitely just know that you can keep going regardless. Like anytime something happens that you're like, oh my goodness, like why did this happen? You can always keep going. And another thing is, I guess you could say it's okay to be authentic and like truthful with people. I know that a lot of people, been hurt and like they don't really like to like share certain things. And they also feel weak, when they like share certain things. But that was me for a very, very long time. I never wanted to kind of show that side. Like I always wanted to just be like this positive, like happy-go-lucky, like, person. And I realized like I was holding a lot of stuff in, and it wasn't really helping me. It was just kind of, making me deteriorate along the way. And so I think you it's okay to share your struggles with people. And then also to I just want people to read this and actually gain a relationship with God. I actually have a salvation prayer at the end of my book. Because like that's honestly like my main goal. Like I want to see like everyone, you know, get saved and, you know, be able to gain a relationship with God, because he saved my life. So I'm like, you know, I want everybody else to be able to experience the same kind of experience that I've experienced with him.
I love that. I think one thing I love about this book, and you sort of just mentioned it, is that literally God knew everything that was going to happen to us before our parents even knew each other.
Okay.
And because yes, and because of that fact, like anything that's going to come your way, he literally planned for it. Like not in the sense that he knew it was coming, but in the sense that he equipped you for it already. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't know we have those tools because we feel like we're not prepared. But if we just like listen to him and focus on what it's already done.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But I do want to ask because I want you to write another book. If you don't want to, that's fine. But I was going to say, what can we expect next from you?
Um, that's funny because I literally I am writing another book actually. Like I'm actually about to start writing another book, but I would say next I'm really kind of trying to focus on like my book though. Like I really want to do I mean I know it's hard right now with the whole pandemic happening, but I'm gonna start doing like events, you know, and stuff like that. Because I really want to kind of connect with like my audience. Like I got a lot of feedback, you know, with my book, so I kind of like I definitely want to be like the author that really connects with people, you know, and so I'm definitely gonna start doing like, you know, some events and stay tuned.
Yes. So since you want them to stay tuned, I want to ask, how can they keep up with you? Because I'm sure people want to order this book or maybe even just keep up with you on social media to see, what when you release another one or maybe when you have an event. So
Okay, so you can actually go to my my Instagram page. So my author Instagram page is Jalia Jalia underscore and then Wallace Wallace. But you can also follow my regular page, which is unapologetically. So it's unapologetically, but instead of for two L's, it's Lee and then it's underscore.
So I do want to thank you for joining us today and writing this book, of course, as I've said throughout the entire interview. And guys, I do want you to make sure that you keep up with Julia and all that she's doing because I know that God is doing great things in your life as it shows through this book he's already done. So that is all we have for today, guys. Until next time, continue to practice